Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to today's video. We're going to have a look at the weather for the next week to 10 days for today's video. Day 10 will take us to the 1st of February. Good gracious me. And we'll be able to extend out beyond that with the extended GFS and ECM ensembles. May run to around a couple of weeks. We'll have a look at CFSV2 for the next 4 weeks at the end of the video, and I shall get on with that for you in a moment. Just to say that the first video today was the 6 a.m. upload, and we've also released the 3rd spring update as well, looking at autumn to spring data for that one. So please like, share, and subscribe on the videos. Thank you so much, everybody, for doing that. I hope you're having a lovely Sunday afternoon as well. Very chilly here again in the towers. I don't know, I just opened the curtains like an hour ago. I've been trying to keep it warm, but ooh, very chilly. I hope you're managing to keep warm, everybody. Right, we're going to start off with stratospheric data, of course. So this is how temperatures are currently looking at 10 HPA in the North Pole versus average. So the grey line, of course, is the trend line. Now, by this point, coming into the last days of January, we should be around there, somewhere around minus 58, minus 57, something like that. We're actually around minus 70. So, we did get a bit of a tick up in the temperature at 10 HPA a few days ago. We dropped down again now, though, so we're hovering around minus 70 there at 10 HPA. Still colder than average. Excuse me, here he goes, coughing again. Right, if we have a look a bit lower down to 30 HPA, there things are still warming up. We're still colder than average, though, even at 30 HPA. So we're around there. We should by now be around minus 70, so we're somewhere around minus 75, something like that. So, but black line is lifting up there at 30 HPA. So, still cold average though at both levels of the stratosphere. And we wait to see where the warming over the next week or so is going to go. Right, so warming is beginning to commence over Siberia. This is the midnight GFS 10 HPA forecast for the Arctic and the North Pole. Northern Hemisphere, really. We find that we have got a bit of warming already starting over Siberia. There's the blue curves are associated with those cold temperatures, of course, at 10 HPA. Now, as we run through, tomorrow we're going to see that warming intensifying over Siberia, intensifying further into Tuesday as well, and starting to push in towards the Arctic for the second half of next week. So we begin to get a bit of a displacement of the polar vortex. That starts to shift out of the Arctic and down in towards the North Atlantic and northern parts of Europe, and also into eastern parts of America. This is a sun stratospheric warming. It won't reverse the winds, but it is quite a significant warming that is producing what we call a displacement event. And then we get this secondary warming starting at the end of January. This is 30th of January. Secondary warming begins to start gathering pace over Siberia as well. And that warming also starts pushing towards the North Pole. So by the time we get through to around the 2nd of February, just beyond day 10, got a very intense, very intense warming from Siberia going into the Arctic and the North Pole. You would look at that and think that's going to reverse the solar wind, really, wouldn't you? But I'll show you the solar wind forecast in a moment. It's all a little bit mysterious now, what's going on with this stratospheric warming. But that is a very significant warming, going up like plus 16 Celsius there at 10 HPA, so really big warming. The polar vortex is still alive and well, though, and in business over the North Atlantic and into northern parts of Europe as well. What happens at the end of this GFS run? Well, the warming is maintained over the North Pole, but begins to die down, of course. You can't maintain that sort of very high level of warming very long. And the polar vortex continues there. The stratospheric polar vortex continues there over the northern parts of Europe. We don't get a split of PV. Let's have a look at the GFS 6 there. See what that one's doing. Again, warming starting over Siberia from now, really, and gathering pace in the next 2 or 3 days. So we get a displacement there taking place of the PV later on this week. As we get towards the end of January, the second warming starting to intensify again over Siberia. That one also pushing in towards the North Pole as well, becoming a very intense warming, going to around 12 Celsius at 850 HPA there. Moving in towards the pole as well. It looks quite significant, doesn't it? The polar vortex, though, that continues to be displaced out of the pole and is not knocked on the head, not split, up to the 7th of February, as far as we get to. That's how we're looking with the stratospheric polar vortex over northern parts of Europe. That woman is penetrating in towards Greenland at this point. Now, you look at that and think that we're going to get a reversal of zone winds, but on the chart here from weatheriscool.com from the GFS ensembles, you can see that zone winds are not reversing on any of the ensemble members, including those two or the operational 6 anyway. So, yes, a weakening of zone winds taking place, but then re-strengthening. That's because the zone wind, because the polar vortex isn't split, so it's still in business and is able to re-strengthen as we push on into early February. So it is a bit mysterious why the zone of wind is not weakening more than that, given that level of warming, particularly on the midnight run. You would think that would reverse the zone of wind, but the GFS ensembles, are stubbornly not reversing the zone of wind. They have backed away from that idea, which means that even with that one, that is not a sudden stratospheric warming. If the zone of wind doesn't reverse, we will not be able to say that's sudden stratospheric warming. That will only be a minor warming. Even though it does look really significant, that looks like a really significant warming, but despite that, if a zone wind doesn't reverse, then we have not had a sudden stratospheric warming. Let's have a look at the GFS ensembles. Shall we do that? Shall we do it? Why not? So, it's Sunday afternoon after all. So, this is a control run. And again, it's a very significant one. I think the reason that zone wind isn't reversed is that the polar vortex is maintained, albeit is weakened. And displaced and shrunken, but there it is. It's still in business. So that would be the reason that the zone wind isn't reversing, I think, despite what is really quite a strong warming from Siberia going in towards the North Pole there. Right, that's ensemble member number 1. This is ensemble member number 2. And again, that's a little bit more toned down with the warming. So it could be that some of these ensemble members, as we go through them, are backing off the intensity of the warming as well. That's quite a significant warming. But again, we're not splitting the polar vortex there. Let's have a look at ensemble member number 3. I mean, that's a significant warming, isn't it? It's right over the top of the pole as well. That, I mean, if that came off on this chart, that would get the black line up to around here somewhere. So the black line would do something like that, which would normally be a sudden stratospheric warming. That would normally cause a reversal of a zone of winds and that. But so it is strange. It is strange, this one. What's going on? Let's see what's going on. So we've got ensemble member number 4. And that one, again, quite a significant one, but the polar vortex is sort of maintained over northern parts of Europe. Ensemble member number 5. Looks like that, again, very significant warming there over the North Pole with that one. Ensemble member number 6. Again, quite a significant warming with that one. Ensemble member number 7. Don't worry, we'll have a look at the weather for next week, 10 days in a moment. Looks like that. The polar vortex actually moves back to the pole there. So the polar vortex is weakened, but it is still in business, and it's moving back to its rightful place over the North Pole there by the end of ensemble member number 7. Ensemble member number 8 looks like that. Ensemble member number 9 looking like this. Ensemble member number 10 looks like that. And again, they're all much of a muchness, aren't they? They all have quite a significant warming up strategy, but they don't sort of eliminate the PV, which is what you're really looking for from a sudden stratospheric warming. That looks very, very intense warming. But the polar vortex is still surviving. This is like a polar vortex of doom. Maybe not a polar vortex of doom. Maybe like an indestructible polar vortex. We just can't. It just survives. We can't get rid of it. November 13, the indestructible polar vortex. I think that's what we might call this one. Not a polar vortex of doom necessarily. It's not been that sort of winter like 2020, but it's just a polar vortex that it's indestructible. It just survives, doesn't it? Ensemble member number 15 looks like that. Ensemble member number 16. They're all keeping the polar vortex in business. None of them are splitting, are they? Ensemble member number 17. Looks like that. That's a bit of a split. That's a little bit of a split. So most damage to the polar vortex of any ensemble member so far, I think that one. Ensemble member number 18 also splits the vortex. So I wonder why that one's not sending the solar wind into reverse. You would think that would send the solar wind into reverse with the BB splitting there. Ensemble member number 19. Looks like that. Ensemble member number 20. Looking like this as well. Ensemble member number 21. There it is. Ensemble member number 22. Looks like that. Ensemble member number 23. Looks like that. Ensemble member number 24. Looks like that. Ensemble member number 25. Looking like that. Ensemble member number 26. There it is. That's very significant right over top of the pile with the red colours. Ensemble member number 27. Looks like that polar vortex ends up back where it should be. Ensemble member number 28 looking like that. Ensemble member number 29 looks like that. And finally ensemble member 30 looks like that. Indestructible stratospheric polar vortex. So yeah, we are going to get a very significant warming of the stratosphere over the next couple of weeks. There's going to be like 2, maybe 3 separate intense warmings of the stratosphere over Siberia. Each one will get closer and closer to the pole. So the final one in early February looks like that is going to get right into the North Pole. However, it does not look as though it's going to get rid of the polar vortex. It does not look as though it's going to reverse the solar wind, so it will not be. If that's right, it will not be classified as a southern stratospheric warming because to have a southern stratospheric warming, as I say, you need the solar wind to go into reverse. And there's not much side of that. We will keep you in posted, though. We'll keep looking and keep monitoring. Central temperature is currently sitting at 5.8, which is 2 degrees above average. That's provisional to the 21st of January to yesterday. So we've now come down into the 5s. That will keep dropping until at least the middle of next week because we've got more frosty nights to come. These are the GFS upper air temperature and precipitation ensembles the next couple of weeks. On at Newcastle upon Tyne today, the red line is the 30-year upper air temperature average on Newcastle, starting off above average at the moment. Going to go below average sometime through the early to middle part of next week temporarily. Then the upper air temperature will tick back up again towards the end of next week, into next weekend, before it drops again, maybe through the opening days of February. Some quite cold ensemble members in there, so there might be a bit of a cold snap there, opening days of February, and then a bit of a recovery again towards the very end of the graph. Does look a little bit zonal, I have to say. So we have got the warmer and cooler and warmer and cooler and warmer intervals with one another, but there might be a few cold snaps in there, especially in that period just there through the opening days of February and around there as well, which is towards the end of this coming week. Precipitation-wise, could be lots of dry weather in the next week, maybe start to get a bit more unsettled into early February. Temperature anomalies on the 22nd to the 30th of February, still a little bit colder than average for England and Wales, mild than average for Scotland and for Ireland. Precipitation anomalies on the 22nd to 30th of January, drier than normal. Latest wind flow map from Earth from nullschool.net shows that we're trying to move milder air in from off the Atlantic today, but most of it's being pushed away to our northwest. We're still really maintaining high pressure over and to the east of the country. And that will continue into the middle of the coming week as well. This is the latest UK Met Euro run for Wednesday, with high pressure reaching through the south. Low pressure is up to the north. Heading on in towards Thursday, that's that little cold snap. The end of next week, wind goes back into the north as high pressure pulls out to our west. That could bring a few wintry showers into eastern coastal counties, but won't last very long. By Friday, the high pressure is reaching back in from off the Atlantic. And then into next weekend, we start to establish more of an Atlantic flow, so it turns milder, especially so in the north. It's going to be a bit chilly, though, down in the south. Icon looks like that again. High pressure reaching through the country on Wednesday, bringing lots of dry weather, but by Thursday, we're pulling in a bit of a northerly there. Into Friday, the wind backs into west again. High pressure reaching back in from off the Atlantic. And then heading on into next weekend, we start to get a little bit more mobility coming along. So by this time next week, maybe bring some wet and windy weather and milder weather into the north and the west. GFS midnight run, again with high pressure reaching through the country on Wednesday. Pulls out to west on Thursday, with winds turning into a colder north or northeasterly winds there, lasting into Friday. So a little bit colder, I think, with the GFS compared to like the UK Met and Icon for the end of the coming week. However, by next weekend, we've got high pressure a little bit further south, so mild air begins to come around the top of the high into the north. And the south, it could still be quite chilly, though, even into next weekend with some more frost potential. Then we head on into the beginning of February, looking like that's going to turn more mobile and whatnot. And that carries on, through the first week of February. Although never far from high pressure, even then in the south. So despite the Atlantic pepping up, really southern areas in particular keep a lot of dry and potentially quite chilly weather going with further frost. You'll notice the GFS midnight run is also trying to build up a little bit of Scandi there by the 7th of February. And then GFS 6Z, it's looking like that. So again, we've got wind into the north of the northeast on Thursday. That will have a chill to it. By Friday into the weekend, high pressure is out to our west. So mild air coming around the top of high, probably with quite a lot of cloud as well. Excuse me once more. Then the wind back into the north there on the 30th of January. And a big northerly blast into northern parts of Europe, by the way. So hello to all of you in Scandinavia and in the Baltic Sea states and eastern parts of Europe. I know a lot of you are waiting for it to get colder, and there it is. Heading up toward day 10, that trough is going to be bringing a big blast of winter across many parts of Europe. We're just on the edges of it. In the UK and Ireland, we're just on the periphery. The cold air is over the other side of the North Sea. It's going to bring cold air down into the Balkans, probably. So the Balkan winter is about to get going. How much you in the Balkans and in Greece and Turkey? Again, that area of low pressure will bring probably snow, particularly to mountainous areas. Could be snow in Athens and that, and probably some big thunderstorms, on the islands and so on. So, big old cold spell on the way for the beginning of February across much of northern East Europe, where it's been a very mild winter so far. It doesn't look like it'll last all that long, because as we go through the first week of February, we find low pressure in the Atlantic really ramping up. We start turning wetter and windier across the north and west of Europe, and that will take milder air back in across Europe. So it will only be like a temporary blast of very cold weather for northeastern and eastern northern parts of Europe, southeast Europe too, but it doesn't look like it'll last more than a few days, and then we're back into the mild winter that it's been so far. If you enjoyed this video, please you like, share, subscribe. We've gone past 15.4k subscribers now, so thank you so much everybody for getting us this far. We're pushing on to 15.5k. I'm waiting for 15,555, so I like those sort of numbers. So if you could get us a sub, thank you so much everybody for doing that. Ultimate target is 16k. Thank you so much. Hope you're having a lovely Sunday afternoon and evening, of course, wherever you're watching this. GM, again, with high pressure, brings lots of fine weather on Wednesday, but pulls out to our west on Thursday, allowing a rather colder northeasterly for the end of the week. And then into the weekend, milder air coming in around the top of the high, particularly to northern areas. Heading on up towards day 10, we have a near miss northerly. That's day 9, big northerly blast across most parts of Europe. We're just on the periphery of that, just on the edges of it, with this area of high pressure keeping us relatively mild. Could be frost and fog, of course, but relatively mild and mostly dry there. And then the ECM looks like that again. High pressure is through the country on Wednesday. A little bit of a northerly there into Thursday, and a bit of a northeasterly for the south anyway on Friday too. Gives us perhaps a chilly end to week. Into the weekend, milder air will come around the top of the heights, lifting the temperature up, especially so in the north. Could be a little bit unsettled there by Monday, 30th of January. Perhaps a little bit wet and windy up in the north, certainly quite mild. And then here comes the cold blast for northern, northeastern and also eastern parts of Europe. But we maintain an Atlantic flow, and so we keep things relatively mild. That's how the upper air temperatures look. I mean, they're not that mild, but they're certainly not as cold as they are across most parts of northern, central, eastern, and eventually southeastern Europe. This is a precipitation forecast based on that ECM run from TibetShow.com. Lots of dry weather to come. Will be a band of rain on Wednesday to Thursday, though. Now, that could bring some wet weather into the south, and that turns wind into the north end, of course, after that. You know, showing bits and pieces coming and going, but the emphasis is on dry weather, I think, for the next week to 10 days. We can't show you the options on the table again from the Icelandic Met Office, unfortunately. So I think at the start of the video, I probably said we're going to show you the ECM and GFS ensembles. We haven't got the ECM ensembles for this video. When these come back to the Icelandic Met Office, I will bring them to you. It's been a long time now, hasn't it? I hope they come back sometime. They normally do. I've had this before, but they disappear, you know, for a week or two. But normally they come back. So I shall keep looking. CFS to you finally, and then we're done. I hope you enjoyed the video, everyone. So week 1, 500 millibar height anomaly from the 22nd, 28th of January looks like that. Plenty of high pressure, bringing lots of dry weather in the week ahead. Week 2 is going to be the 29th of January to the 4th of February. High pressure over France with low pressure around Iceland. And so that's returning us back to more of an Atlantic flow. So main driver south, but would be mild. Week 3 will be the 5th to the 11th of January with low pressure in off the Atlantic. That looks really unsettled. Wet and windy, and that carries on for week 4 as well. It's the 12th to the 18th of February. Low pressure out to the northwest, high pressure to our south, and wind still coming in from a west or a southwesterly direction. Wet and windy in the north and quite mild. And we're done. If you enjoyed the video, then please do like, share, subscribe. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. And why not drop a comment and let us know what you think about this all of our videos. Thank you so much everybody for doing that. Right, so just to tell you what's coming up tomorrow, we're going to have the 6 AM upload. We'll have a 10 to 14 day, and we'll be live streaming on Ensembles Watch at 8 PM. So I shall see you live tomorrow at 8, and we'll see what's going on then, shall we? With the Strat. For this video, though, that's all for now, and thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.